Comfy Couch Cast, everyone. My name is CatBit.
How you doing, CatBit? It's me, Random Heary. I'm usually on this thing.
Hello, I'm Shane.
And today we have ourselves a very special guest today. If you can please introduce yourself, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Vane, or otherwise known as MissJazzDaFunk.
You like jazz?
Yeah. I do character design. I really like doing, mid-century kind of style character designs and cartoons, so that's what I mainly do. You know, a lot of my characters look really retro-styled.
It almost has, a unique spin on, the old UPA art style from what I've seen.
Yeah, that's the intent, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's rare to see, artists online, emulate the art style, and, from what you're doing, you really know what you're doing. You have your own spin on it and everything.
I think that's awesome.
Well, I hope it looks like that.
A lot of stuff I see kind of reminds me of some designs I've seen that Chris Riccardi have done. I love his work, along with Lynn Naylor.
May you rest in peace too.
Yeah, his death was really tragic. It didn't need to happen.
But his stuff was really great.
His stuff, especially on Ren and Stimpy, from what you showed us random, looks really amazing.
I felt like he was the best layout artist on there.
Mm-hmm.
No doubt.
Him, and also I also love his stuff on the modifiers. I felt it could have fit in with the time period it was in. It could have felt like a regular show.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't want to go with it.
It was really nice looking. It was sort of that retro style. But you could see that they had a bit of a steampunkish look with it too.
Yeah, and I'm a huge fan of that stuff.
Yeah, I always thought steampunk was cool if it's done right. I've always wanted to add that for my one series, Sam, where it's it's kind of medieval, but I describe it more as Oddworld meets Breath of the Wild. Because you know how in Breath of the Wild, it's all fantasy, but there's still robots and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I want to do something like that.
I think that's really cool. Mixture stuff. That's one of my favorite mixtures. Mixing in fantasy and technology.
Yeah, it's kind of like wizards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's robotic wizard and metallicized dragons and such.
Mm-hmm. Another show that did that well was Samurai Jack.
Oh yeah, Samurai Jack is cool. I wish I could learn how to be like Genny Tartakovsky and learn how to make my shows distinctive from each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that I usually do since it's I enjoy practicing emulating other art styles to the point where I try to make everything I make different from one another in appearance.
Me too, but it's so hard because you ever have a thing where you'll sometimes have your certain traits where it's oh, you can tell this is this guy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, kinda. I mean, it's with the characters I may try to replicate the 40s era of animation with the Golden Age of Looney Tunes or Tex Avery cartoons. You can still see I have some of the flat the characters have some flatness to their designs.
Mm-hmm.
If you ever see my art, sometimes whenever I do digital art, I'll sometimes make the colors reminiscent of Yoshi's Island.
Yeah.
Whenever I have a green, I'll add some yellows, and I'll add some blues, and sometimes purple if I'm crazy. And then sometimes with skin, it's I'll either do purple for skin or other stuff, or cream yellow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and honestly, it really fits your art style perfectly.
Thank you. But although I do try to not overdo it, because some of my friends say, "Oh, I think your colors you don't need to do all that." It's I get that, but sometimes I'm scared I'm looking lazy.
Mm-hmm.
You're good.
Usually less is better, because even though there's less colors, you're still really careful how you use them.
You have to practice color theory when you're drawing.
Mm-hmm.
One of the good examples, one of our friends, Nessie, she does an amazing her color choices and stuff.
Oh yeah, she's got thousands of palettes.
I remember when I was doing that Shane comic, I was trying to figure out colors and stuff, and it was hard. I'm not good with color. I remember when I first started doing digital art, I had a problem where my colors were too saturated, but not in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I kept asking friends. My one friend, Zoe Stanley, she said "Oh, you might want to dumb down your stuff," and then over time I kind of get it, but sometimes I'll have trouble finding a color that I like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Actually, MissJazzDaFunk, I've looked at your work, and I feel you have a great choice of color for your stuff. Any advice to give to Shane?
At least for my coloring style, I tend to do female characters a lot of girls. more than guys, which I think I should do guys more nowadays because, you know, I need to get used to doing guys and everything and, you know, getting back to the subject. So whenever I do female characters, you know, I usually, you know, pick colors that go with their personality, you know. Like, a lot of them are pretty pastel, you know. You see Jazzy, you know, that one skunk character that I made, Penelope or Penny.
Oh, yeah.
But they're not too pastel. Like, I pick colors that would match their personality and would be bright enough to, like, match their, you know, animal character, so to speak. Like that one deer character I made too. I'm sorry, I forget some of the names of my characters sometimes.
No, I'm like that too.
If I haven't drawn them in a while, I tend to forget their names sometimes, and I have to like look back. Gosh, it was Daisy. So like I would get like the colors of fallow deer. I think it's fallow. What I based her on. Yeah, that's what it's called. I was just checking real quick. And like I would choose the characters like the light tan and the, you know, the oranges and everything, but I would push it a little further by, you know, making, you know, the orange maybe a bit of a pinkish tone, you know, so it's not exactly orange, but not exactly pink, but just something in between.
That's what I do too, because usually when I'm working on colors, I feel like the colors I try to stray away from are white and brown.
Mm-hmm.
Those are like some like colors that don't really lighten up everything. So if you wanted to pop out, like mix in a bit of like orange and pink for like browns.
Yeah, one time I have this character called Oscar who's this little weird looking frog guy, and he's orange, and sometimes whenever I shade him, I'll just give him purple.
Like for coloring as well, when I do like detailed stuff, like with shading and highlights and all, I usually use like if I were to use a shadow color, the highlight color would be like the contrasting color to, you know, the shade color and vice versa. If you were to use like a warm color for the shadows, then I would use a cool color for the highlights. And then if I were to use cool for shadows, then warm for, you know, you get the idea.
Oh, I never thought of it like that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
When you see Mara, like, what's something I should do next time?
I would say maybe avoid basic colors, you know, like the primary colors. Try to find some in-betweens of, like, you know, my favorite color is turquoise, which is like the between of, you know, it's in between blue and green. And I realize I tend to love really, you know, just in-between colors. Like pink, you know, would probably be between, you know, purple and red, you know, on the whole RGB scale, you know, when you're looking for colors that way. Turquoise, and lately I've been really into periwinkle, which is like between blue and I can't remember. I'm like dead right now.
It's okay.
You know though, like from like the way you're just, there's like somebody I know who like does the same thing you do, like color choices and such. Like she's someone that I'm really close friends with. She goes by the Turfs. I feel like you should all go follow her if you can. Like after this podcast is finished, she does an excellent job.
Yeah, she does really good with colors too.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Most of her character designs are super adorable, but you know that's my opinion at least.
Yeah, I like to do cell shading like this.
Shows that like really contrast with made by the same creator, but you can definitely tell like they do something subtly different, but you can still tell that it's by the same person. Was Christy Caracas, the guy who made Super Jail and Ball Masters. He does things a certain way, especially like with action, but he does like character designs really subtly. In Super Jail, everything is more looser, everything's more like rubber hosey, while Ball Masters has more of an anime-esque influence, so like the colors really pop out there, while Super Jail adds lots of yellows and purples.
You know, it's another creator I feel does an excellent distinguishing like each cartoon adheres with different art styles.
Who?
Gendy Tartakovsky and Craig McCracken, two of my personal favorite animation legends, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, same here.
Mm-hmm. Craig McCracken definitely.
I love how like their earlier works like reference off of like old EPA cartoons, or like how their second cartoons like Samurai Jack, Foster's Home, like they try to go for a lineless art style, but like you can still tell that it's done by the same creators.
Mm-hmm. I feel like there are creators that do that well. it's not like with, I guess, a Seth MacFarlane show where like they're the same kind of like stories, so they don't really change much artistically. At least with like Matt Groening shows, they take place in different universes, so there's still some subtle changes.
I mean, like what Matt Groening's other work says in The Simpsons, like they have
like the goose lips.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like they still like it's the same character design, realistic human skin colors.
His is like different, like that's his like trademark look, like those weird goose lips things.
Like the goose lips and like the eyes that look like or like the ping pong eyes are like close together.
I love the ping pong eyes.
Oh yeah, I love those too.
I always do this thing where whenever I make a character it's not an animal, it's not a human, it's whatever, I like to give them 3 fingers.
Oh yeah, that's cool too.
I mean, it is easier to draw with 3 fingers. I'm sorry, like 4 fingers or 3 fingers as opposed to like drawing.
No, it's mostly because I think that stuff looks cool.
If you want to like do something different but still have your distinct look, if you're gonna make like a new property, do something completely different. I think artists who like this doesn't work for their matter is like Butch Hartman and Justin Roiland.
Oh no, Justin Roiland. Also Seth MacFarlane as well.
MacFarlane, like it's just all the same show. I bring up Justin Roiland because Hulu just announced his new show called Solar Opposites.
Yeah,
and I'm not kind of digging it because it just feels like Rick and Morty with just different characters.
Yeah, because like all the human characters look like they would belong in Rick. Like I'll probably still see it because it still looks pretty cool, and I like the one character who's like, we don't have noses.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just like, I kind of wish that it would look a little different.
Like, I'm still gonna watch it. It's just like I don't feel like it's too different for me to like give it a shot. I think I would have been more on board if it felt like different. Like if he did a different approach, like a regular comedy, but with I guess maybe animals and not just like a whole sci-fi kind of thing.
Didn't like he plan to like make a kids cartoon originally before he created Rick and Morty?
Yeah, he had a show called Dog World, and like fun fact, the intro for Dog World was the one that they use now for Rick and Morty, which honestly I think that theme song's better fitted for Rick and Morty. What do you like to use for traditional art?
For traditional?
Yeah.
Okay. So I've gone through a whole bunch of traditional media, like from as far as like high school. I used to use Prismacolor color pencils a lot.
Same here.
Like I would just color with that because I didn't know how to do digital art back then. So all I had was just to do traditional only. You know, I don't do Prismacolor color pencils anymore, but I do use the Coal Erase for sketching now, and to clean up some of that work, like some of the traditional sketches I would put out nowadays. You know, I would use these pencils. I would really recommend. They're called. Here, let me bring it out because like right here in front of. They're called Blackwing pencils. They have only 3 kinds, I believe. They have like they're all different, thickness, I guess you could say, or like the darkness. And I only have 2 of them. I have like the middle one and the darkest one. And I really recommend them. They're really nice. Really smooth, like really high quality pencils. And I can get them for like $125 or something at the local art supply store. So, and like a pack of them is like $25. Mm-hmm. So they're really good.
I like get them at Michael's.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if they sell them. I mean, I'd check right now to see.
I'll check when I have the time. I haven't been busy because of the whole quarantine stuff, but Michael's is good. That's where I go to get my art stuff, like clay and sometimes paper and also pens, because a while back I bought new Pigma pens because I got tired of using Micron pens and I realized these pens kind of suck. And so I've been trying to practice more, and I was also, like lately I've been trying to mess around more ink stuff because I want to improve on inking and stuff because I want to be a better comic artist like Doug Snape or Rob Schraub or like Spy vs. Spy, and just really hard to mess around with inks, especially when it's like backgrounds, because I always have this problem of like, I always think this background looks boring or this background doesn't look interesting. It's really frustrating and hard. And I can't see. And also, like, I can't tell when it's like, is this look good or not? Or, like, this is bad? Or when I think it looks good and people don't care, I'm just like, okay, this is bad?
Just because, like, no one really cares about it doesn't mean it's bad.
Well, I'm trying to let that fix me, but at the same time, I was like, I need help with this, and like, thankfully, you guys have been helping me with that.
I think the best advice is just keep doing it. That's the best way to like improve.
I would say try to experiment with other tools as well. Even you can even find like the cheapest tools or pens out there, and they could probably help a lot than the that one pen that everyone recommends that is like a whole bunch of money for just one. Always experiment, try new things. If you think something will help you, try getting it, but really like work your way up, like try not to be too ambitious and get like the most expensive thing, and then hardly use it.
I had to learn that the hard way when I was practicing, when I was learning how to do watercolors like a month ago before I just gave up on it.
Watercolors are really fun. I remember I always thought they were cool, but I was too scared to try them. But then I saw Ducks and Able do them. Like, I want to do these now, and like. I haven't done them in a while because I've been very busy and stuff, because college has been kicking my ass, but I miss doing it.
I remember watercolor, I was afraid of doing it because I thought, I can't paint for shit, so I was like, man, I can't do it, and then I started messing around in Clip Studio Paint with the watercolor feature, and I was like, hey, I'm getting pretty good at this, and then I actually decided to do, like, watercolor myself. I'm like, wow, like, I guess you can learn something from, like, digital.
Oh, man, I use the watercolor tool for my digital stuff all the time, because I have Paint Tool Sci, and that's basically the only, like, thing I use for shading.
That's
honestly,
like, good
though,
for that.
Honestly, though, I just use digital tools just to make my artwork in general, just because, like, my traditional stuff looks like absolute trash.
Shut your mouth, it looks great.
I think another thing is, like, if you're gonna, like, go for, like, the biggest thing, even though it's, like, everyone's using it, like, I don't recommend it unless, for my sake, everyone, like, kind of uses, like, Flash in some cases, but, like, I prefer using, like, Toon Boom, but, like, I had to pick up Flash because, like, on the production I used to work on, like, we worked heavily in Flash throughout.
Oh, yes, right. And, like, didn't they use, like, an old version? Or just, like, we've been using this for years, and we feel comfortable doing this and not changing a new program.
Oh, yeah, so where I worked, we use CS3, so because they hate the new version of Flash, and they're like,
Everyone does.
Yeah. Because, same thing, I had to, like, use CS3 when I was doing, like, this one animation for The Midnight Gospel, which is, like, Pendleton Ward's new show. I remember, like, working in that, because I remember working in Animate, and I had to, like, go back and, like, learn everything again. I was like, how the hell do you use this? But I managed to figure it out over time. But, like, we used more modern, like, Flash when, like, Ballmasters was out.
Yeah. Honestly, though, like, with your animation, like, with the animation, excellent job at it.
Ah, thanks. I only use Flash for people I work for. Toon Boom is when I work on my own stuff.
You ever have that moment when, like, you're using something and you know you shouldn't use it, and then, like, over time you're like, you know what, I should probably use something else.
I think, like, you realize that longer down the road, you're like, this is getting quite repetitive. Let's do something different.
I use, like, I remember, like, using Fire Alpaca for, like, the past, but it's, like, I've been using more, like, vector tools as of, like, last year, and, like, that's what I've been doing for, like, my digital line, mostly, like, for my line work and such. Like, I still use, like, Fire Alpaca for coloring and such.
I remember I had a free version of Photoshop, and I told myself, I hate this, but it was the only thing I had, and I was like, I didn't want to tell myself that I hated it, and then I decided to get Clip Studio Paint when it first came out. Yeah, it was so different, but once I learned it, it became my favorite thing, and I can't go back to Photoshop.
I remember Ashley Nichols' art. She mentioned how, like, Clip Studio Paint is basically like Photoshop, but the way it's set up, it was kind of meant for an art program, because, like, Photoshop was just meant for, just fixing images, but people managed to use it like, oh, we're using it the wrong way, but this is the way we prefer to do it.
Clip Studio Paint is mostly for comic artists.
Yeah, which I hope to use. And, like, I think I've learned this. To everyone who ever does a comic in an art program, if you realize that it was more stressful, then maybe you should get a new art program. Because, like, I went through that the hard way. I remember when I You guys remember when I did when I was trying to do that Alan comic series?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went through the first issue, was proud of it, then I went to the second issue, and I'm just like, this is not good, and also I should probably not use Fire Alpaca as my main art program, because, to be honest, Fire Alpaca, it's good, but it's not, I wouldn't recommend it as, like, someone's major art program. Like, you should probably use something else, just like Clip Studio Paint. I think Clip Studio Paint is just, like, the best program to use, honestly.
Usually it goes on sale a lot, so when it goes on sale, get the Pro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the Pro is usually $25 on sale.
I'm kind of panicked as to which website I should find it because
Go to the official. Go to the official.
Yeah,
because I can't. Is like a bootleg website that'll install viruses to my computer or not.
Oh God! Can I tell you a funny story about that?
Sure.
What?
So one time when I was 14, who was trying to be all, I want to learn how to do digital art. I tried to find a program. I remember I got Paint Tool Sci on this bootleg ass website, and I downloaded it, and then it fucked my computer. And I'm just like, oh God, what have I done? And so I asked my dad for help, and like we had to reboot it.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like, oh jeez.
You had to reboot, like the reboot.
Exactly.
Oh, hey, MissJazzDaFunk. What software do you use for your art?
On my PC, I mostly use Photoshop. I do have Clip Studio, but I believe Photoshop has won me over in the battle so far, because I just really love the brushes I use for it, and I just cannot part with that. And for my iPad Pro, I use Art Studio Pro.
Nice.
Yeah, I've heard of that one. I've heard of something else on the phone, which was actually pretty good. I forgot what was it called.
Isn't it like that one thing that like the artists that did the cover for the Spyro game, for the Spyro remake use?
Are you talking about Procreate?
Yeah, Procreate. Yeah.
That's mostly for iPad people.
Speaking of iPad, the first time I ever actually did digital art was I used Media Bang app, and I was like, whoa, this is so cool. And then, of course, being that it's an Apple product, it did that thing where we're going to act stupid on purpose so your bitch ass can get a new phone. I'm just like, I ain't going to do that. And then every time I try to use Media Bang app, it just crashed. Well, there goes my digital art dreams, bastards. And then my cousin for my graduation party got me a tablet. And, you know, at first I was kind of threatened by a tablet. I've always been threatened by a tablet without a screen because I figure, like, when you're drawing, you should just see your hands. And I was really weirded out by that. And I remember at first I was doing it as like, you know, this is actually kind of good.
I've only invested in the Cintiq because, like, a lot of the time I work from home with animation. So, like, and Cintiqs are usually the standards with, like, this kind of stuff. Because...
Yeah.
Because like with Ballmasters, it was all like Cintiqs, like in every desk.
I mean, like with an animated show, I think it's understandable to use a Cintiq because, I mean, if you're gonna do it on a screen and you're probably like used to that, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just, man.
Yeah, and also like I work all the time on like stuff, so that's why I saved money to get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. At least, like, I know I use it, so that's why I think a Cintiq's, like, worth it.
Yeah.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
do you guys always prefer traditional art or digital art?
I said it before, I prefer digital.
I'm the weirdo opposite. I find it funny how I'm friends with artists who prefer digital art. I'm here like, I like doing traditional.
I prefer... I guess, like, digital because we're in an age where, like, that's pretty much a standard, so I pretty much learned how to do everything, like, digital, but lately I've been working traditional because like, this project we're working on currently at Stretch Films is a traditional, like, animated piece, so I'm scanning, I'm, like, gotta draw out the frames, gotta flip the drawings. But we do add Flash in there for inking and coloring, and also Photoshop for the backgrounds. So
I mean, it's understandable. To make things less stressful. Imagine in Cuphead, when they were doing all the animation, they said, let's just do the colors digitally. and then they realized this is better. Let's just do this because if they actually used hand painted cells, that'd be a freaking nightmare.
Oh, that would have been. Also, cells are super expensive.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like
if it was done on cell, like it wouldn't even have come out during the time like it came out like 3 years ago.
Yeah, it would have taken way longer.
Good gosh, I feel so old knowing that. Not really, that's stupid. I feel like it's just really bizarre that game came out like 3 years ago, and there was a time where it's like people waited for that game. Now it's just, oh yeah, it's finally out.
Oh my god, I've been waiting like since it was announced. Like I was waiting for like the news.
That was one of the games that convinced one when it first.
It convinced you to get an Xbox One.
Yeah,
and then you realized it was on Switch and other consoles.
No,
dumbass.
Like it came out on Switch. It came out on Switch like a couple years later, and
it got on Steam, biatch.
Yeah, I got it on Steam because I don't got an Xbox One. I don't even have a PlayStation.
I ain't gonna get that broke ass piece of shit Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck that.
But I think the best way to think, like, if you're gonna do like digital artwork, I think like you should do digital artwork mainly to like get stuff done like quicker, and also have a traditional mindset when working with it.
Whenever I mess with digital stuff is whenever I do ink. So it's like, first thing I do is that I use actual inking, and then I cut them because my scanner's too small. I go to paint tool side, and then I use the magic wand tool, and I get all the whites, and then I erase them. And then I also have another layer where it's just black, and I clip it on the ink liner, because sometimes whenever I thought this was my fault, but it's like this is basically everyone, honestly. Like whenever you do traditional ink and art, you notice that sometimes it's not always fully black.
Mm-hmm.
And at first I used to say like, am I doing something wrong? No, that happens to everyone, so don't worry. Like usually they always just like use a black layer and clip it, and then it's like, oh, now it's fully black.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's the same thing we had to do when like we had a Milton Knight. I remember like I had to like do the editing just to get his avatar to fit into like into the background and such, like, you know, color it in digitally for him and such.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think you did a great job with that.
Yeah, that's good.
No, thanks.
So what do you prefer, MissJazzDaFunk?
I'm gonna be real honest and say that I cannot choose between the two. I love both. I used to be mainly traditional and occasionally did digital, and then I got more equipment for, digital stuff that, I did more digital than traditional. And now I'm just keeping it at an equal level of both.
That's really good to have.
Because, I'm not sure if you've seen my work, at least the ones, like, the past 2 months or so. Whenever I put out a new piece that I did fully colored, I would put up the sketch version. You get to see all the sketches and whatnot, And I feel like if I need to get a sketch out, I have to do it traditionally. I've done it digitally for so long that it just, I don't know, it's the way I did it back then, like doing the sketches in digital form, they just don't come out as expressive as if I were to do them traditionally. Because I don't know, it's something about it just doesn't feel right. And I feel much better with a piece of paper and, like, using that as the canvas. I can, like, mess up and scrap and, use another piece of paper until I get it right. All I have to do is scan it and then line it and do everything else.
I do the exact same thing, honestly, because
I think like everybody does the exact same thing, Shane.
You don't need to be a dick about it.
I'm sorry if I sounded rude, dude.
I actually remember someone saying this. Usually, when they were drawing in a sketchbook, when they made a mistake, they accidentally tried to do, like, Command-Z. They were like, oh, wait, I'm drawing in a sketchbook. I think carrying a sketchbook also helps.
It's always important to carry a sketchbook when, like, you're trying to draw, especially if, like, you're a digital artist, but it's so difficult to adjust to drawing. Even though, like, I do all my work digitally, like, I always sketch out, like, the poses and such traditionally before I start working,
That's good to have because, like, I usually carry a sketchbook when, like, I go to work. So on my commute, I could just be like drawing like the people on the train to like practice like different character designs, or I could just be drawing dicks.
Dicks. I like them dicks.
But with
I was trying to...
no, they'd be like the dick drawings from super bad.
I don't know why, but whenever I try to digital sketch, rough sketch something, I don't know, it feels weird. Like, I've only done that a few times. I remember when I was doing the avatar for the background of our podcast, I did that where it was just digitally rough sketch. Like, what I did was that every body part for Shane was like a different color. So it's like, oh, he'll have his rough sketch for his body is like, oh, this is purple. This arm is red, and his other body part is just whatever color.
Well, that's like mapping things out, and I think that's good.
Yeah. Also, it's like it's easier to. And then whenever there's time I need to fix something where it's like, oh, this could look better, I'll just fix that when I do like the line art, the actual line art.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and honestly, like like the way you did the avatar, like it really appeared really perfect. God, I can't talk today. It looked very professional.
Thanks. I'm just trying my best, and also, I don't know, this year I'm trying to just do more and challenge myself, and also need to learn who cares about what people think, because that's a problem I've had fucking my entire life, and it's really killing me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just like, don't let people dictate what you should or shouldn't draw, like... that kind of like screwed me over in the past, like before, like I realized that I'm better off just doing things my own way, not like let people tell me what to do.
Well, it's more like I always just thought like people were judging me and stuff, but they weren't really saying it, or people were lying to me. I'm just like, what's going on or something. And also, I was just being a selfish asshole. Like, when I started submitting art online on DeviantArt, I was a fucking idiot. I did this stupid shit where, sorry for cursing, but I just did this stupid thing where, like, whenever I posted something on DeviantArt and someone favorited it without commenting, instead of just saying, oh, that's cool, I was just like, hey, thanks for favoriting, what'd you like about it? Please leave a comment next. I was just like, you're an idiot. Why'd you do this?
I knew people who used to do thanks for the fave, like, whenever, like, you favorite something. Usually I do that. I usually did that when I had DeviantArt. Whenever someone favored, I would be like, hey, thanks for the fave. Thumbs up.
No, I do. Back when I learned to not do that, I'd just say, oh, thanks for the fave. Or on Twitter, like, whenever someone said, oh, this is good, instead of just liking it, replying, oh, thank you very much, it's like, I feel bad.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a dick. I kind of feel like a dick just like liking and not saying anything. It's kind of like whenever I go to an art server and I post something and someone says, oh, this is really nice. I'll quickly say, oh, thank you very much. Like, I feel bad like not saying anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I get where you're coming from, but I think just like if people like it is enough for me.
Yeah.
Because usually I don't really make like stuff for like anyone. I usually like make my own art for myself.
Yeah, I mean,
and I think just people liking it is the cherry on top for me.
Me, because I don't know. I always felt like I was being selfish, and I felt like I was losing like my purpose of why I love doing art. And I felt like I was being fame attention and stuff, and it was really dark, and I felt like an ass.
But you've grown from that, and that's the important thing.
I always think I do, but back then, where it's like, even if I didn't, like, even when I say, oh, I should just be thankful, I'll still have the moment where it's like, I worked hard on this, and this, no one cares, or... I don't know. It's just really depressed. I just felt
because I remember you made a comic. I actually thought it was really funny, and then you deleted it because you thought like no one liked it, and I was like, that broke my heart.
Well, then I just thought it just wasn't funny, and like I wasn't really proud of the art. I'm just like, this is.
I think like another thing is because I know back then during the Newgrounds days there was lots of people who wanted to be the next Ego Raptor or the next ONG, and like when they upload stuff and it doesn't reach recognition as what they expected, and they think, oh, I'll never make it. But here's the thing, you still made something,
yeah,
and I think that's something you should be proud of, that you actually did make something. because
Yeah,
not a lot
I
of
feel
people
like-
can say that. That's also kind of what I like about the Liquid Television MTV era, because that was a lot of people who were given the chance to make their own thing, and
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
their chance was to be aired on like a primetime network.
yeah, and it's like sure you're not on the levels of like fame as like some big people, but like you shouldn't let that deter you. Even with the little amount of people you have following you, like it still counts because it means like there are people out there who actually like your work.
Yeah, like, also when it came to friend stuff, that was stupid, too. I'm just like, you know what, don't think that. Because I remember I used to think, if my friends don't like what I make, then they really think of me as a friend. I'm like, that's toxic, don't think that.
I think the best thing is like to just focus on yourself.
Don't let like the ideas of fame get to your head.
Oh,
I wouldn't
really
say
don't
like
want to.
famed, but like don't let the opinions of others determine you to like continue or stop art.
I don't want to give up on them all because it's like, I used to think I'm not good enough and stuff, because I feel like that's not because of like an ego, so it's like, I have what it takes, just keep doing it.
Yeah, and honestly,
Especially, oh, sorry, go on.
I'm sorry. No, like I was gonna say, like, and especially like with what you do, like I feel like you're gonna keep blossoming like the more you keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, and it's like, here's a pro tip. If you guys ever practice and you notice that like something you made like a year ago looks, you think like this looks horrendous, then you really are improving. Because like, have you guys ever looked at something you made a month or like a year ago and you're just like, good God, I drew this?
I felt
It
that way
shows
about
that
something I made
it
like 2
shows-
months ago.
Yeah, it shows that you're improving.
Oh yeah, especially like, what did you do, random?
I remember I drew like something like 2 months ago. I forgot what I think it was just like a regular character sketch, and I was like, wow, this is kind of garbo. And then like I do a regular like character sketch. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of better.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm more
Same.
confident with like character design like now than I was back then.
Oh, same here, because like, I was always isolating myself from improving on certain things, but like now, well, whenever I have the time, I want to learn how to draw certain things or
Yeah.
certain type of characters I've always wanted to draw. Like, have you guys ever had characters where you have them and you kind of don't draw them because they require more art skills?
I mean, that's how it was like when I used to try to emulate for like the Mario games, and like look what I'm doing now. Like, I incorporate like some design assets, the old pieces, and like incorporate it into my art style.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're really cool. How about you, MissJazzDaFunk?
What was the question again?
You ever have characters you want to draw, but you think that they require more art skills?
I feel that way with backgrounds, just anything but character design.
Oh,
Or at least more guy
backgrounds.
characters, like I said. But it's like, you guys are so hard to draw.
Yeah, sorry.
It's fine.
But yeah, I feel that way towards women, and also like other stuff. Even the simple things. Like, what's like one thing you wish you can do better at? This, like, I know yours is just men, but mine is just like guns.
Yeah, just like, object design I wish I could get better at.
Mm-hmm.
Same here.
I do recommend like picking up prop design, because there's lots of shows that need prop design artists, and not a lot of people are prop design artists who are that's their main trait. So if you can pick that up and be good at it and have a portfolio for that, I think you have a better chance of getting hired on like a show.
Yeah.
Because Bento Box, they have a bunch of like prop designers on that studio. They're the studio that did like Bob's Burgers.
Yeah, props is something I like to do, but it's always, don't you hate it? Do you guys always hate it when like you try to want to draw a certain thing?
I think
Yes.
like with prop design, the thing is like I usually draw guitars a lot and basses, so I work with them in different perspectives. Usually that sounds harder than like drawing a gun, but I've been drawing like guitars like since I was a teenager, so I think that just came naturally to me. And also I work with like guitars a lot.
You know what I used to have trouble drawing was the bottom of feet. No, wait, not because of like a foot fetish shit. I'm saying like
Watch yourself.
What?
Watch yourself, buddy.
Hey, shut up. I'm trying to say is like whenever I try to draw characters walking, I used to have trouble drawing their bottom shoes, not feet, because feet weird me out, but their shoes. I used to have trouble drawing like, how does this look? Right? That stuff is hard.
I say just like reference off of like some you use, like again, like I bring up, like again, I'm constantly going to be bringing this up because like it's the art style that I've been drawing a lot, like the old Mario pieces. Like I would just like reference off of those, or like older cartoons I used to enjoy watching a lot. It doesn't hurt to also like steal some things from like artists, because like isn't there like a good artist copy, great artist steal or something?
Wait, you cut it off. What'd you say?
He said
like
something.
There's a rule in like good artists copy, great artists steal. Like an example I can think of, like MissJazzDaFunk, and they kind of give me a bit of like some Bruce Timm vibes to it, just because of like how angular you draw limbs and such. Is that like an artist you stole some ideas from, just to help make your art
Not
style?
stole.
I wouldn't say steal, but
No. Like I'm not saying it as a bad thing. Again, like I'm bringing up the term like good artists copy, great artists steal.
Still just worded better.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know much about Bruce Timm. I still don't know much about. Well, from what I saw of his work, it's really good too. But I've mostly been inspired by, like, say, Mary Blair, Tom Oreb, Steven Silver, who was a mentor of mine a few years ago.
Oh, that was your mentor? Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I was in his mentorship for like 8 weeks in 2017, and that was fun. I mean, he's a really great teacher, and I would recommend his mentorship to anyone.
Like, I've been mentored before, but like a lot of the times it was like I worked under them, so I was pretty much mentored by them. I was mentored by Bill Plimpton when I used to like work with him on the Simpsons season 19 DVD menus.
Mm-hmm.
I helped him with that, so I learned a lot just working with him on a production than anything I worked with, along with Bob Camp.
Mm-hmm.
I made a cartoon with him, and he pretty much taught me the best way of staging and storyboarding. I felt like, and also like John R. Dilworth, he's currently who I'm working with right now, and I feel like I've learned more from working with him than anyone I've ever worked with, in just art in general. I feel like I've grown just by working like alongside with him, because he's very knowledgeable.
Truthfully, Random, I kind of see that towards you. I see you as my mentor, because it's like you're always helping me with certain things. And like, truthfully, you're the only person I ever asked for digital help. I mean, drawing help.
Oh, really? Thank you.
Yeah, because it's like, I don't know why. It's like, you're more helpful.
Thank you.
My one friend Tim has also helped me with stuff, but like you, I was just like, hey, how does this look? And it's like you're always honest with me.
Mm-hmm.
I really appreciate that.
You're welcome.
I used to be scared whenever like I needed help. People would say like, "Oh, this looks good," or like, "This looks great." They won't say like, "What can I fix?" Like, I actually do want to fix it, and you're honest about it, and you're not like you're never mean about it, and it's just like, oh.
Because like when I used to teach, I think the best way to like for kids to learn is just be honest with them. Don't sugarcoat anything. Just tell them how it is, but don't tell them like it's wrong. Tell them how to fix it.
Like if you critique something and said this is shit, and you have to explain why, like 12-ounce mouse. The reason why I don't like it is because I don't like the way that the art style looks. Just look good. Mm-hmm. Like, I think that sounds better than saying, "Oh, this looks like complete utter garbage."
Like, I remember having, like, a full breakdown of why, I guess, Thundercats Roar looks wrong, because not just the art style could work, but, like, the staging is horrendous. How they stage everything.
It's just like a bad comic.
Yes, it's, like, basically people who do comics, but they don't know how to, like, stage for animation. They know how to stage for comics, but not animation. That's what I'm trying to say. So, that's why it don't work in movement. It doesn't work well in motion. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, Random, I guess you have a purple opinion.
Any nostalgic cartoons that you guys that nobody talks about that much?
Let's see.
For me, I would say I used to watch this so much in Toon Disney at the time. Like, it was just reruns, but I often think about Bump in the Night.
Oh my god, I remember
I've
that.
seen that.
It's a great show.
What's Bump in the Night?
So it's a stop motion show that was on ABC for a while, and it centers around this small, green, ugly monster character thing.
Voiced by Jim Cummings.
Yes, and I think it's Jim Cummings' best performance he's ever done, because he just hams it up so much. Almost every line that he does is like so quotable between my brother and I. My younger brother and I, we used to watch it a lot, and he would often laugh at the delivery, you know, and he doesn't laugh at many things that much, but he would often laugh at that, and it was one of our things when growing up before I moved out and everything. But yeah, and it's just this green monster who's like obsessed with eating socks, and he and his friend go on like these weird shenanigans all in each episode. It's very weird. But I would recommend it. There's basically both seasons on YouTube. You can just watch them free. They're right there, and it's hilarious.
Because, like, that show, I've never seen that show in years. Because I remember when Toon Disney was still a thing. Like, there was, like, that show. I remember also, like, Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog was there, too, along with...
Oh, my God.
Yes.
Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog character when I was, like, very young.
Mm-hmm.
And look what it's made me into.
A degenerate.
Homosexual.
We're kidding. But I feel like with shows
we love everyone.
I feel like shows that would be like most nostalgic is if I would watch something, I would remember where I was when I first saw it.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I would describe like nostalgic. Like especially with like Courage, I remember where I was and what day it was when I watched the first episode, like Cat's Motel. I could remember I watched like Courage while like my mom was like away because she was about to have like my brother and sister. They're both twins. And I remember seeing Cat's Motel, and I just remember being like spooked out by spiders and stuff. And along with like King Ramses. The man and guys. I love the songs. I love the song so much.
I remember the first time I tried to watch Courage was on the episode with those pigs who was trying to eat Courage in that little 50s diner, and that scared the shit out of me. I was in my living room watching it.
I remember like seeing Courage in like at the age of 2, and like that shit used to scare the hell out of me when I was.
My parents wouldn't let me watch it if I was too scary.
There was this one, Invader Zim, like, I remember siblings were watching it one time when they were staying with us, and, like, I remember just, like, screaming when they were airing the episode with, like, the organs and stuff.
Oh, Dark Harvest.
You got scared by that? You're weak.
I think, like, the idea.
I wanted to watch SpongeBob.
I just love seeing that fat Zim.
Oh, yeah, I love the Fat Zim, too. I remember when Invader Zim first came out. Like, that's another show I remember, like, where I was. I remember being in first grade. Invader Zim, like, was, like, my favorite show. Not a lot of kids would talk about it. Usually kids thought, oh, you watch Invader Zim? You're stupid.
What a bunch of
Billy Oddparents is better.
That's what it was.
I love that scene where he was like, I got fish toes. You want to see them?
I remember that. Also, another show was like Ed and Eddie, because if that show wasn't on, I'm not watching anything.
The only show I remember being nostalgic for when I was younger was like just watching like older episodes of Fairly Odd Parents or like SpongeBob back in preschool, or like I still remember like the day like they were airing. So when they were airing like this one episode of Rick Pants, like I was just like alone in the room, just like watching it while in the dark while everybody was just like out. Like how do I remember this? I was alone in the room, The whole room was dark, and the only thing that was in there was just me, and I was just watching while singing along Red Pants with SpongeBob.
Oh yeah. I don't know why. I don't
miss your chance, and you won't end up like a fool.
I think that's like one of my favorite songs that aired on like SpongeBob, but for some reason I don't really remember SpongeBob coming out. I just remember it just always being there.
You know, it's another cartoon I remember like airing a lot when I still find it odd. It was like Tiny Toons and Animaniacs who play a lot on Nickelodeon.
Oh yeah, I remember when like they used to air those on Nickelodeon at the time. Also like Freakazoid. They had it on like Kids WB too.
I also remember like seeing like an episode of Batman the Animated Series on like Nicktoons Network a couple times in the past. Mm-hmm. That was strange, to be honest.
How about you, MissJazzDaFunk?
I think she already said Bump in the Night or something.
Well, I know, but there are other shows too.
Other shows, man, I don't know. I mean, I remember having a phase in high school of Ren and Stimpy. Just looking back at it at the time, because I knew I watched a bit of it as a kid. You know, when they were playing reruns, because you know, I think I was born around the time that they just stopped doing the show. You know, like they just ended it or something. So I was just watching reruns at the time, and I hardly remembered any of it. And then I watched it again at that time, and I was like, so why did my parents let me watch this, but forbade me from watching Powerpuff Girls? Because they said it was too violent, and I would have to sneak myself watching it. But you know what? They got me a Powerpuff Girls backpack when I was in kindergarten. So
that makes no sense.
That's backwards.
That reminds me of how like
that's more backwards than like Jacob's parents. Ed and Eddie do what? Oh, like Jacob told us he was forbidden from watching Ed and Eddie when he was a kid, but he got to watch Dragon Ball Z.
What the fuck?
Yeah, what the fuck?
Is that why he's a filthy weeb?
Mm-hmm. I remember being super into Ren and Stimpy around middle school because I remember seeing the shows when they had reruns for Ren and Stimpy on Nickelodeon, and then I remember Nicktoons Network airing them, and I remember just that's when I was like first getting my hand into like wanting to be in animation. So I would always like draw like kind of like in the John K like S style, and then like I started getting a feel for like other things, and then but like I was influenced by tons of other things, mainly like Gorillas. That's what I was mostly influenced by.
Yeah, it's always good to be inspired by more than one thing, and not like if you're inspired by one thing, that's fine, but try to like not rip that off, because I've seen that happen a lot on Twitter.
Exactly, but like that's something I always advise younger artists. If you're going to be inspired by something, be inspired by multiple things. Because like you're just going to keep yourself in this one little square if you just like define yourself by one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like during that time, I used to think like cartoons aren't like Ren and Stimpy, and I would be like a Ren and Stimpy like stan in like 5th grade, and then like as I got older, I'm just like I still think the show's good, but like I think the production like what happened behind the scenes kind of like make me feel uneasy, but I respect the other artist who worked on Ren and Stimpy more than the creator himself.
Yeah, I mean, did you tell us to like when John K. was like Bob Camp had the biggest grin on his face that day or something?
Oh yes, because Bob Camp hates John K. more than anyone I've ever met.
That's understandable.
He really hates him. But like
also random when you mentioned how you were like I'm Ren and Stimpy stan. Imagine like what if me and you went to the past to beat up your past self, be like, take this, you little bitch, learn how to not be a little punk ass self.
I wouldn't beat up my past self. I would just be like, I got some news for you. I hate to tell you this, but I'm gonna crush your dreams. I wouldn't beat myself up, but I would just like crush my kids.
I probably would.
Dreams.
Just be like, welcome to the real animation world, biatch.
God damn it, Shane.
Yeah.
That's like the question is like how censorship in general changed like the field of animation after the 90s.
It kind of like some things were gone. Like, what is it? Some things are just in a norm, but it's kind of still not technically.
I think there's too many slice of life shows.
Yeah,
I do agree.
Oh no doubt, it's really an.
I
mean, it was nice when it first started out, but now there's too much. I'm like hungry for action now.
Yeah, I'm hungry for action. I'm hungry for like I guess another dark comedy cartoon, kind of like something in the vein of like Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy.
I also wish for like cartoons that actually look different from one another as opposed to like the same old thing that we had in like the 2010s.
I don't know, because if you notice like back in like the 90s and even like the 2000s, like there was like a different variety of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like like something had the thick outline, like they still were different from each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't like well now with some shows like Cartoon Network, like I remember when I first saw Craig of the Creek, I was like, is this supposed to be Steven Universe?
I mean, it doesn't help that like it's made by the same people, but it's like I think like this is my cartoon. It's like they've always had this issue where like all their shows look the same since their inception, at least.
That's where I come from. Like, when you're influenced by something, try not to be influenced by one thing.
Yeah, because if you can tell, and it's like you're a hack.
I wouldn't say like a hack, like
Yeah.
because there's
No, I mean,
there's still talented people who work on the shows, but like the stuff like the shows like they're working on aren't, I guess, like my cup of tea.
And then your friend comes in like, you didn't like the show that I work on?
Oh no, like I've dealt with that before.
Oh, so you say like, oh hey Random, I didn't really care for Ball Masters, and you're just like,
Fuck you!
Just joking, I've never seen the show yet.
I'm kidding.
What am I, a pussy? No, it's like, didn't you have a friend who's like, yeah, I worked on Family Guy? You wouldn't be like, oh man, Family Guy's a great show. You're just like, oh, that's cool.
Oh no, like
Family Guy.
Like I'm not a big fan of like modern Family Guy, but like when hearing him like just work on a Family Guy, I still see that as really successful. I'm like, yeah, good for you.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, like you got to have
Yeah, I had like dinner with him.
Pepe. Yeah, you had dinner with the guy who designed Right Frog.
Hold on. Yeah, he designed the Pepe balloon.
Yeah. Also, Cap, you need to fix your mic.
God damn it. I guess, like, for me at least, with, like, the whole idea of censorship, like, I feel like the biggest example of, like, how censorship nowadays ruined animation is, like, with the Powerpuff Girls reboot.
Oh, yeah. That's, like, so damn boring.
Like, here's the thing, it's, like, it's not Powerpuff Girls without the violence.
Yeah.
True.
That's the point of Powerpuff Girls.
Like, it's supposed to be overly violent. It's like, that's like trying to get rid of, like, the violence.
Yeah.
And, like, it's like with the Looney Tunes or, like, old Tom and Jerry cartoons. Like, look what parent groups in the 60s and 70s did to those properties.
I think another time was, like, I remember parents groups being, like, very open about, like, how much they hated, like, media in the 90s with stuff like Mortal Kombat and, like, Beavis and Butthead.
Parent groups in general are just really fucking stupid, in my opinion. Like,
I think parents have, like, toned down, but, like, in the 90s, they were relentless.
No, but it's like, here's the thing, it's like parents, instead of, like, trying to, like, understand, like, why their kids like things and, like, try to get into it, like, they would instead, like, close their mind and just, like, say, it's bad because it's different and I hate it.
Mm-hmm.
It's so funny. It's so funny we're talking about this, because my husband here says, I'm like trying to show him all the shows that I grew up with, because he wasn't allowed to watch a lot of them. You weren't allowed to watch SpongeBob, because
Wait, what the
hell? That's SpongeBob?
Yeah, SpongeBob.
Oh my god, I feel sorry for you!
Jesus, calm down, Cap.
Alright, hold on. Alright, continue.
Yeah, I wasn't allowed to watch SpongeBob. I wasn't allowed to watch a lot of Nickelodeon shows. There were a lot of things really allowed to watch. My parents eased off on it eventually. They did eventually get better. I mean, they did eventually allow us to watch that, but for the longest time, we weren't allowed to really watch a lot of that stuff. And it really just boils down to overprotectiveness, I think.
And just parents just listening to what they hear and not really seeing it for themselves.
I mean, then like The Simpsons, I feel like The Simpsons made fun of that like ideal in like earlier seasons. Like I still remember like this one episode. Like I would sometimes go back to like the whole idea of censorship. Itchy and Scratchy and Marge were like they try to like explain like what.
That's a fantastic episode.
I love that episode.
Like in the episode, like the parent groups are trying to like tone down the violence in Itchy and Scratchy, but like when like a David statue came into Springfield, like the parent groups tried to like censor it because they didn't want like the kids to see.
Show fat wheel.
They didn't want to see. They didn't want to like show David's doodle.
Yeah.
Hey, Homer, I can see your doodle.
Shut up, players.
But yeah, it really just boils down to overprotectiveness of the parents, and then the companies, the studio networks, and everything catch on to that, and so they try to tone it down because they want to avoid the risk of trying to be creative or different.
No, but like here's the thing. Instead of being like being overprotective, like bad parents, like actually try to talk to your kid and like restrict them from watching certain things instead of like ruining it for other people.
I have a funny story. So
Yeah.
I wasn't allowed to watch Toonami because my mom saw me watching Naruto one time, and the thing she saw was like this guy was getting lynched to death.
Oh shit!
And she thought everything on Toonami was like that. She was like, "No, you can't watch Naruto anymore." I was like, "Oh."
You're just like.
I thought you'd say that she'd walk into your room and saw you do the Naruto run and just like, house move.
Oh my god, if I caught my son doing an Naruto run, I would probably beat the hell out of him. Anybody know Naruto 98, boy?
I remember there was this one time like banned from watching Nickel 6 all the way up to like I was 9 because my parents caught me watching Mr. Meaty and like every cartoon at the time. Like
I remember being super hyped for Mr. Meaty.
I did too. Also, your parents suck. Mr.
all the
My
cartoon
dad,
channels.
My dad loves Mr. Meaty.
Your dad has good taste. I used to watch that shit all the time. You know what upsets me? I try to watch that show on Kiss Cartoon. First of all, those bastards pitched the freaking audio, which, hey, hate you, Kiss Cartoon, for doing that. Secondly, I don't have all the episodes. It makes me upset.
I know Daily Motion has them.
Oh no, it's better to just
God
go.
bless
It's
you.
just better to go to Daily Motion and watch cartoons instead of like going to Kiss Cartoon and like have it infest your computer with viruses.
Did
Yeah.
they... No, I used my phone. Why the hell would I ever use... I would never in a million years use Kiss Cartoon on my computer.
The strange thing is, it's like Mr. Meaty,
It was funny as
Disney
hell.
Cartoon Network, Disney, and like Nickelodeon was banned from my household for like 3 years until like eventually my folks forgot about it. Like when we moved out to another household, it's like the only thing I was allowed to watch was like 4Kids TV shows, which were like coming on Saturdays.
Rip.
I mean, if you weren't watching Kurt Right Back at You, then you poor little bastard.
I watched Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Is that too violent?
What the hell? Then that's good. Thank God.
They didn't really use their weapons, so you're fine.
I still love that one scene from the 2012 version when they meet them alternate selves and they're like, for starters, you guys should really use your weapons. And Splinter's like, no, wait. Leonardo is like, well, Master Splinter said you should never hurt anybody. It's like, excuse me?
Because honestly, if the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles use their weapons, they'd be murderers.
I mean, to be fair, the people they're killing are bad people. They don't deserve to live.
Well, technically they're robots, so it's okay for them to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, watching Robot Death is pretty fun, if I say so myself.
Can you imagine when robots become sentient and they start watching like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Samurai Jack?
They're just like, what the fuck, man?
What
Or Star Wars. Oh, like Star Wars, just like, what the hell, man? Those guys were cool.
Oh, the robot uprising is not.
Oh no, it's not going to be kind to us.
Well, your mama uprising. Oh!
Oh no.
No, but it's like I tell you, like I feel like another example of like what it can do is like censorship. Like a big example is like '80s cartoons, or like every time like they were forcing like those preaching morals just so that they could keep so that they can make parent groups think that these cartoons are educational.
And you can tell the people made the show like, we don't want to fucking do this.
You know, like the worst example of like forcing in morals into cartoons, though.
What?
One of the old Sonic cartoons, or like G.I. Joe, and like add in like these horribly like I remember like in one of the morals were good. They taught you that it's dangerous to, like, if your house is on fire, it's better to hide underneath your table or something. It's like
that's the same who was like, hey kids, if you ever see an atom bomb, make sure to duck and cover. You will survive.
I remember.
yeah, we know.
I remember the original Thundercats. That's when I'm like, ugh, this is lame, because Thundercats, they would look at the camera, be like, so drinking is wrong.
Listen, everyone knows the best. The best PSA from kids' cartoons when Mario said, "Listen, kids, if you do drugs, you go to hell before you die."
Before you die.
Please.
I mean, the best moral we did get from like one of the type abusive household. It's okay to stay there, otherwise you'll be lost in the real world.
Wait, what the hell did you just say?
Like in one of the old Sonic cartoons, like if you're in an abusive household, like it's better to be in a home than to like be lost in the real.
Oh yeah, with coconuts, he was like, Dr. Robotnik doesn't love me anymore, so I'm running away. He's like, oh, who's gonna change your batteries and shit? You know, even though he hits you around, he's still gonna take care of you. What?
You know you enjoy it, you little monkey slut.
Remember, kids, Sonic says that domestic abuse is okay.
Oh no!
And this is why Mario. And this is why.
That sounds wrong.
At least Mario tells kids about the dangers of hell, okay?
At least Mario tells you it's bad to do the drugs.
Totally a Christian.
While Sonic tells you don't go in like the dryer in the laundromat.
Yeah, no shit. No kid is big enough to go into a dryer. Duh.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now we
like you have to go to your
screenshot of Tail smoking.
Smoking's bad, you know. How did you get that?
Oh my
You shouldn't give cigarettes to children. What children?
God, those PSAs are fucking garbage.
Oh no, I thought like the drinking one was so funny.
I've never seen those.
I swear to God, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just more used to just that Ook and Joe one in the, that's the, hey kids, if a person touches you, that's no good.
That's the most famous one.
That's no good.
That's no good.
That's no good.
You run. You get out of there.
What? And go to your teacher, or your police officer, or your priest.
Or your rabbi.
But what if they're touching me?
No.
Especially your priest.
Well, you're shit out of luck then, kid. Whoa.
Sonic would abandon children. He would kidnap 1,000 children before he let Sega die.
And it's a mystery to why people hate his games now.
Oh no.
He'll always go through like a thing where it's like, he'll have a good game, and it's like, you know, maybe Sonic has a second chance. He makes one game that's awful, and it's just like, fuck Sonic. But then, same thing, Sonic Mania, good game. A perfect game that probably helped the franchise. Sonic Forces. Screw this game.
Yo, Sonic Forces made me lose hope.
Garbage. No, like, if anything, like, Sonic Mania safer with the fans.
Because with Sonic Mania, that wasn't even made by Sega. That was made by the fans.
Yeah,
like Christian Whitehead.
Let's be brutally honest. Like Sonic Team is really getting sick of the franchise.
I mean, I'd probably be too if I had to deal with that little blue bastard all my life.
Right, give us a new Nights and a Dreams, Sega.
Mm-hmm.
I want a new Nights game.
I think
You never played Knights.
with like censorship.
Nights, damn it.
With censorship, I feel like going back to it, like Yeah, I guess like Ren and Stimpy did change everything with how.
And it's true. Like, there's still some things I'm just like surprised. Like, whoa, what the hell?
Yeah, because
like the coffee tables that Jacob.
Oh no!
Time.
Oh no! I don't want to talk about
I'll
that.
explain it since you're cutting off a lot. Basically, what happened was that there's a scene where characters having coffee, and there's signatures of these people on the table, and there's like this rumor that they like would shit on the table, and like they would sign. I guess they would sign their autographs on the table or something.
No, like the tables used to belong to actors who rumor has is like hire prostitutes to shit on their tables, and they would just be underneath the.
Oh,
Moving on.
That's the worst.
Guys remember a time when there was old Looney Tunes and old Disney cartoons, and they had the things?
Remember cartoons that help influence your work and become the person you are today?
Yes.
No. Yeah.
Right.
I feel like when I first discovered Gorillas on Toonami, I never really seen an art style kind of like Jamie Hewlett's, and I just felt like there's more to animation than just like cartoons like you see on like Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network or like even Disney. So I wanted to be something like Gorillas where it's like something like unique and cool. And also like I was influenced by a lot of like indie comics too.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. And also like I guess Jonah Vasquez worked on like mainly Johnny the Homicidal Maniac, and a lot of old Adult Swim shows like paved the way for that.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I say for me that if it wasn't for like SpongeBob, I wouldn't be the artist I am today. Like I'd probably just be like the kind of person who just watches cartoons and just rant about it on Twitter like Mr. Renner or something.
Oof. Mm-hmm.
Oh God, I would probably hate you.
Yeah. So glad we didn't.
I mean,
you don't
I
live
think
in
I
that
would like.
timeline.
I think I would tolerate you at the same time. It's like I'm gonna kill this guy one day.
Oh
SpongeBob
wow.
made me the person I am today.
I think like with Gorillas, like Gorillas didn't. I didn't want to be Gorillas, but like Gorillas made me want to improve.
Honestly, though, like with the way you draw, like you have like Gorillas influences with your.
Oh yeah. Especially in, like the hands, that's mostly like where the Gorillas like influences is how like Jimmy Hewlett does hands.
Oh, I can tell that when I saw your one character. I can like those hands look like gorilla hands.
Yeah, like Gaggett and Urethras.
Yeah, they got Gorilla's hands.
His narrow urethras.
Bobby, I have a narrow urethra.
Oh.
What about you, Shane?
A lot of old cartoons from way past my time, like Popeye and stuff, and Peanuts, old cartoons from the 90s. My one friend Lee said I have like a 90s Nickelodeon vibe, and I'm really like that. I appreciate that.
I'd say like Popeye, like I used to love watching like old Tex Avery and Popeye cartoons on Boomerang and such during like the time I was banned from like the three main channels, and they kind of like also were like a major influence on some of my artwork and such, and like how I draw characters and whatnot.
I used to watch a ton of like Golden Age like Merry Melodies because I had a bunch of VHS tapes.
Same
with
here.
like a
I
collection
even
of
watched
them.
the ones I wasn't supposed to watch.
Oh, you know what's one of my personal favorite Merry Melodies cartoons, or maybe this was like this one Tex Avery short that was basically just a giant excuse for him to use onomatopoeias.
Oh boy.
Like a man goes to heaven and he's trying to like talk to the guy that like keep the gatekeeper of heaven. I forgot his name.
Yes.
I remember the Tom and Jerry one where it's like Tom is in heaven and this guy's like, "You've been really mean to this one little mouse. You need to be nice to him, or else you'll go down under there."
Oh boy, that cartoon that used to freak me out a lot.
I remember when I was a kid seeing that one scene with the kittens, and as I got older, I was like, "Oh,
Mm-hmm.
oh no."
A lot of the times I'm like, all right, I better not think too deep about this.
One of my personal favorite Tom and Jerry shorts had to be like the one where like Tom dresses up as Jackson or something. That was like there was also
Jackson.
that. How you doing, Toots?
Oh yeah, that was a great one.
How you doing, Toots?
Another one I used to enjoy was like the one where like Jerry turned himself invisible or something.
I love those episodes.
Or the one where like Tom, Jerry, and Spike like make a truce and like they become friends until like they get so fed up with one another like they just start going back to beating the shit out of each other.
Yeah, like they were trying to cook a steak, but they couldn't decide like, oh, you'll have this piece and I'll have this piece. It's like, no, I'll have this piece and I'll have that piece, and it's just like, fuck this. They just beat each other.
Oh yeah. Also, like another thing was like the first time I critiqued a cartoon was Tom and Jerry, because I remember being super young and I saw the Gene Deitch cartoons, the Chizek ones,
No.
and I was like, "This cartoon sucks."
No.
Did you go on DeviantArt, use that notepad base that Mr. Incher uses, and you're just like 26 out of 7 personality?
No, I would like
block.
basically make a character, use every color in the color library as my character, and would cross my arms and be like, "This cartoon is poopy."
Yeah, you're gonna own the liberty.
Oh no.
And then you would like post MS Paint pictures of you shooting Tom and Jerry with a gun.
That's like a weird trend I've noticed on DeviantArt with like people who like cartoons. It's kind of grim.
Yeah, I don't get why people have a love for that kind of MS Paint art, which doesn't not look good.
I guess it's because like they just don't know what quality is.
Mm-hmm.
Also, like their colors are too badly saturated. It looks like neon colors having a pissing contest.
That's true, because like a lot of them is like them drawing like cartoon characters like shooting Johnny Test, and then I'm just like I'm kind of concerned what kind of person this is, and then I realize they have like this weird Hanna-Barbera-esque like OC doing that, and so I don't take them that seriously.
And it doesn't help that these people have an Encyclopedia Dramatica page, so that really goes to show you shouldn't take them seriously one bit.
I'm not talking about anyone in general. I'm just talking about like what the majority of them I've seen.
We're not talking about.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's like I'm just bringing up the majority.
No, I know. We know some people.
Yeah,
we know some people.
I guess like MissJazzDaFunk like shaped you into the person you are today.
What was that again? It cut off.
Yeah, any cartoons that shaped you into the person you are today.
Hold on, CatBit, say it one more time.
Is there any cartoons you are nostalgic for that influenced you into becoming the person you are today?
I think I've said quite a few of them already. For sure, Powerpuff Girls was a pretty pivotal one in my childhood. Ren and Stimpy for sure too. Gosh. I would say even the movie Fantasia 2000 is like one of my most favorite movies ever, and it really gives me like a huge ambition that if our idea Cosmic Kids were to become like its own like cartoon thing, Fantasia really kind of inspired the musical aspect of it all, really.
Honestly,
and what was that?
I'm sorry, go ahead. I thought you were finished. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, sorry. I'm trying to think of any other ones. Just a lot of the Disney classics, too, like Bambi, really influenced a whole lot. And especially with drawing animal. Just, a lot of the classics, too, mainly. I can't really pinpoint it to, like, certain ones, because I just think of too many.
I feel that way towards Dumbo. I love Dumbo.
I think my favorite Golden Age era Disney movie is Pinocchio.
Pinocchio was creepy, but like in a good way.
Yeah, I loved it.
I have not seen that many Disney movies.
Really?
I'm not kidding.
Oh, shit. Well, to be fair, you said you didn't watch Lilo and Stitch, and it makes me concerned.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That offends me.
That one's a good one.
That's like my all-time favorite movie.
I think, I guess the original Lion King would be, my favorite, Disney movie, as a story, but, I think my favorite art direction would be Hercules.
Oh, I love Hercules.
Mm-hmm.
But Nostalgia Critic, that movie, he won't get it.
Oh, man.
Like that.
I like this movie, but Nostalgia Critic says I have to hate it, so I guess I don't like it anymore.
Why is this movie so good? I just don't get it.
Oh my god.
What the hell is this thing? Is this some sort of weird jaw thing? They look like action figures.
Shane, your nostalgia critic impression scares me. That means
scares
you're
me.
really
At least
good
I
at
had
it.
pitch.
Yeah. What's the other part where he's like, you see, I'm trying to sound like I'm smart and very intelligent and very inspirational. Do you like it when I do this? No. You're not inspirational. You shouldn't be.
He's not inspirational at all. Here's the thing, like, I've learned this, especially in his wall review, that he
Oh my
doesn't
God.
know anything about, like,
Mm-mm.
film critique at all.
To this day, I still cannot watch a second of that review without feeling like, good God, what am I doing?
This is coming from someone who's a big fan of The Wall, too.
Speaking of nostalgia critic, I remember hearing this thing that, you guys remember a time where he had really cool thumbnails?
Oh boy.
Yeah, so like this one guy who was an artist for Nostalgia Critic, he did the thumbnails, and eventually they stopped using him. And the reason why was because, first of all, this poor man was paid $10 for each thumbnail, which is like, that's not fair, because literally it's a thumbnail, that could take freaking forever, and even if it didn't, you should pay him more than just that. And when he asked for a raise, they're just like, no, we don't need you.
And again, like, when is anyone has worked for Chino Awesome been that?
Didn't they do like a contest some years back of like doing an epic poster for like the whole cast, and the grand prize was just $100?
$100?
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Wow, that is bullshit.
What is this, like an elementary contest?
That's
That's
low.
what it reminds me of.
Well, screw you, Doug. Maybe it is a good thing people hate you. No.
It's really funny how, like, there was a time when, like, people liked him, and then over time they didn't, and then when the whole, like, change the channel thing happened, it's like, people hate your guts.
Yeah.
And then, like, there was, like, all this stuff where it's like, yeah, he did all this, and you guys completely ignored it, but as soon as you idiots, like, saw this, now you believe us? It's like, we told you. That happens a lot.
Yeah, I mean, look what happened with the Me Too.
Is this the end?
I guess it is, because I got some mac and cheese for dinner.
Mac's famous mac and cheese?
Yes.
If there's pepper on it, I'll kill you.
There's no pepper, but there's bacon. Lots and lots of bacon.
But yeah, I'm Shane.
CatBit.
I'm Random Heary. Also, thank you, MissJazzDaFunk, for coming on.
Oh, for sure. You're welcome.
This is
Yeah.
Big Comfy Couch Casting.
Sponsor time! Bitch. This month's batch of episodes is brought to you by Petra. It's about a little bird who can't fly, which leads her to believe almost anything that can help her do so. As she leads a life full of discovery and hijinks, the more she learns about the world around her, the more ideas she'll get to help her soar into the sky at last. Will she fly, or will she continue to fall? Click the link below and catch new panels every Sunday. It's Petra by Lamity Moon.